Today we've got a crazy story from a Redditor who messed up by taking their wife's friend's phone and seeing something they were not meant to see. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, today I messed up by mocking my neighbor's parrot for the last couple of weeks. So, I live in an apartment where the walls are thin enough that I can hear my neighbor's TV, phone calls, and, unfortunately, their parrot. This parrot, very beautiful animal, but makes me want to rip my hair out and do things I'm not proud to admit. Let's just say he's become my morning alarm for the last few months. About 2 weeks ago, I started mocking his sounds back. He would squawk, I would squawk. He would whistle, I'd whistle back. We built up a little routine, kind of like distant, angry roommates communicating through bird calls. Sometimes I would even initiate it, like when I was cooking. I would randomly have a Tourette-like outburst and start squawking loudly. I know this is strange. Yesterday, my neighbor knocked on my door and had a really odd look on her face. Apparently, ever since I started doing my bird banter, her parrot has become obsessed with me. I guess I just wasn't in the mood for bird talk the last couple of days and went silent. She said he paces and screeches when I stop responding. She even showed me a video. Was such an awkward experience. She said he used to have a parrot friend years ago that died and she thinks it wants some sort of bird companion. Anyway, she asked me to make a couple of bird sounds as she put a treat in its cage to see if it would eat. I reluctantly agreed and felt humiliated, of course, but I went through with it, and sure enough, the little freaker started eating and playing. Long story short, I became the object of a parrot's affection, and my neighbor asked if I could talk to him for a few minutes a day, even gave preferred times if I'm home. I have unintentionally entered a long-distance relationship with a bird. There's a part of me that hears the story and thinks, this is so beautiful and cute. And then there's an undercurrent for me that's like, oh my god, so much intense, all of a sudden new pressure and obligation. What's gonna happen if OP has to move away or they do get sick or something? Is that poor little parrot heart gonna be broken? And does OP have to do this for the rest of their life? I mean, parrots live a very long time. Like, at this point, I feel like OP needs to embrace it and try to go full magical rom-com moment where they try to get into a relationship with their neighbor. It was the bird that brought them together. I can see it in theaters already. Bernie MP commented on the post, "Bruh, this is like a buddy movie where you forced yourself to be your enemy's best friend. I feel sorry for you, but also good for you? Kinda sucks when you want to be a jerk, but make friends instead." Naruto Roll replied, OP's just mad because it's not fun knowing that the bird loved the mocking, and now the thing that annoyed him that he enjoyed responding to is a requirement now. It's like being told to clean your room as a kid when you were either doing that already or about to get started. It's annoying in its own way. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy crazy stories of Redditors who severely messed up, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? Our next story is, today I messed up by letting intrusive thoughts win while working a 16-hour shift in a flour mill. So this happened a few years back, but my fingers still look weird enough that it deserves its own cautionary tale. There are bad ideas, then there are the kinds of bad ideas that only show up during the last stretch of a 16-hour shift in a flour mill when your bloodstream is 50% exhaustion and the other 50% PBR. The machine I was tending was ancient, a relic from the 1930s. Nothing digital, nothing smart, pure mechanical spite. It grabbed a bag from the stack, puffed air into it to open the mouth, dropped in about 9.5 pounds of flour, and sent it down the line. The sealing and stitching was handled later, a few stations downstream. My only job was to keep this temperamental dinosaur from jamming or exploding. At some point that night, after too many hours of listening to the same clanks and whines, I had a thought no reasonable person should ever entertain. What would happen if I stuck my hand in there? I wish I could blame anything but myself, but curiosity and boredom are powerful drugs. And yes, the machine was running, so I did it. The machine did not hesitate, it did not care, it did not pause to consider my value as a human being. It grabbed the bag as usual, and my hand along with it. My index and middle finger took the full force. I felt the pain in perfect clarity. No delay, no confusion, just raw nerve lightning. And then I watched the machine continue its cycle like it hadn't just tried to amputate me. Bag filled with flour, released, sent on its way toward the dribbler like nothing was wrong. When my fingers came back out, they did not look like they belonged to me anymore. My middle finger was lacerated clean across the first knuckle on both sides. My index finger already had a bruise blooming under the nail, deep purple and angry, throbbing like it had its own heartbeat. I pulled the bloody bag off the line without even thinking. Then I walked off calmly like I was just going to get a drink of water, not trying to keep my insides from becoming outsides. In the break room, I found the first aid kit. That was when the real problem hit me. I couldn't apply a bandage using the same hand that needed bandaging. My manager walked in and got the sanitized version of the story. I made it sound like a normal accident, something that could happen to anyone, not, I stuck my hand into a 90-year-old flour machine for science. We wrapped it up, I double-gloved, and because medical bills are expensive and pride is dangerous, I went back to work and finished the shift with a partially mutilated hand. The middle finger works, technically, it just never went back to factory specs. The joint is weird, the nail looks a little off, the scars are faint now, but you can still read them like bad handwriting if you know where to look. That old machine never apologized, it just kept running. Honestly, I kind of respect it. Now, I would like to clarify, I would never have the impulse to stick my hand, or at least follow through with one, to stick my hand into a 1930s flour presser or whatever. But I can't say that I haven't had intrusive thoughts that were somewhat similar to OP. Like I said, I've never had anything that crazy, but I've had thoughts about it's hard to describe really, and I can't really remember any great examples. I'd love to know if anybody else feels similar, but stuff like lightly closing a door on yourself or slowly rolling a weighted exercise ball over your foot or something. Nothing that's actually going to hurt you, but just really weird intrusive thoughts like, what if I kept my hand in and slowly closed the drawer? I feel like it's not too far from those intrusive thoughts you get when you see a clay figurine and you think, oh, for whatever reason, I just want to squish that thing into an unrecognizable ball. Chicago Lake Witch commented, I feel like I've heard that this is a phenomenon that factories have to deal with, that the work is so mind-numbing that people do something stupid out of boredom. One of the reasons for shorter shifts, the longer you are in that state, the more likely something will happen. Frequent Morning replied, reminds me of when I was working in a resort kitchen. One person really wanted to go skiing but couldn't get off work, so they decided to pretend to be hurt. Their genius plan was to wrap their arm in plastic wrap, dip it in the fryer, and get a day or two off work. Yeah, the plastic melted around their arm immediately, and they had to get skin grafts. Our next story is, today I messed up when I was 11 by accidentally carpet bombing my neighbor's backyard party with dog crap. My grandfather loved his 3 big Labradors. I think he loved them more than his family. But the old guy fed them the cheapest garbage dog food on earth, the kind that made their turds turn white when they dried. The result of this food was nuclear-level dog farts and turds the size of small loaves of bread. When I was 11, he made it my chore to clean up the poop and mow the lawn. I figured I could save time by just mowing over the piles of crap. Turns out, when you mow over big fresh dog turds, they turn into a moist brown mist. The first time he saw me do this, my grandparents put a stop to it. So, I invented a solution. The doo-doo catapult, which was literally my grandmother's spatula from her kitchen drawer. On chore day, I'd wait for my parents to leave the house, then I'd get to work. I'd go outside, fling the dog's giant turds over the fence and onto the neighbor's roof. Perfect aim, pure roof every time. They were jerks anyway, so I didn't feel bad. One day, after I'd skipped my chores for several weeks, my grandfather got mad and made me get to work. There were several weeks of poop from 3 big dogs. It was gross. I was in a huge hurry. My grandparents had left, and my friends were waiting out on the street for me. I didn't check if the neighbors were home, nor did I check my aim. I just started rapid-fire launching turds over the fence. After a bunch of launches, I froze. People were yelling, screaming, and cussing. Our neighbors were outside having a backyard party, a whole bunch of people barbecuing. I had just carpet bombed the entire thing with dog crap. When my parents got home, the neighbors marched straight over looking for blood. They were livid. My grandfather spoke with them for a long time, me standing behind him. After he calmed them down by agreeing that he would ground me for the rest of my life, the old man glanced back at me, gave me the tiniest smile, and winked. I didn't get in trouble. Mostly just a stern talking to from my grandmother. She said to never ever use her spatula again for doo-doo duty. Even my grandmother couldn't hold back laughing each time she said poop during her stern talk with me. They were the greatest grandparents in the world. The crazy thing here is it really like that much better to fling it onto the neighbor's roof? Like, the only way I can see flinging all of the individual dog crap onto the neighbor's roof being better than just collecting it and putting it in a bin is solely if you have a better time getting it done just because you've kind of gamified it. I mean, surely the grandparents must have been willing to provide OP with a bin that has a bag and they could just drop it in it, right? Platitude Platypus commented, "I love how this took a good deal more effort than putting it into a bin or a bag." Morg the Bat replied, "It doesn't feel like more work if it's more fun." Our next story is, today I messed up by starting my day 12 hours early. I took a nap at 7 because I was feeling dead. I wake up from what feels like a full medical coma, see 9 o'clock glowing on my smart assistant, and my brain immediately slams the panic button. Oh crap, you have econ at 9:30. For context, it's a 20-minute drive to campus. No thoughts, no hesitation, just an android executing morningroutine.exe at maximum speed. I got dressed, took my ADHD meds, did my hair, grabbed my stuff, and literally started driving to school like it was a totally normal Tuesday morning. I felt foggy and just off, but I assumed it was because I'd apparently slept for 14 hours. That should have been a massive red flag since I'm a 6 to 7 hours a night guy, but every once in a while I catch up. So my brain didn't fight me on it. Halfway there, I'm bumping Kendrick, trying to wake up while waiting for my meds to kick in, but something's weird. There's no traffic at all. This is supposed to be the end of rush hour. My brain slowly boots up. Something's not computing. I finally check the car clock and it says 9:15 p.m. I just sat there like an idiot staring at it, fully unable to comprehend the sheer scale of my delusion. It felt surreal, like I'd glitched into a parallel universe where time means nothing and routines run themselves. And since I live alone, there was nobody to stop me. I didn't question the darkness nor the abundance of cars in the lot of my apartment complex. None of that was important. I had supply and demand to learn about. So yeah, I got completely ready for school and am now wired on stimulants for a class that doesn't exist for another 12 hours. I can sometimes sleep on my meds, but definitely not after a 2-hour nap and a full morning sequence executed at the wrong end of the day. Please shame me and laugh at me so I can finally learn to double check the dang clock instead of trusting my half-conscious caveman brain. I feel like most, at least Americans or anybody that uses a 12-hour clock regularly, ends up having some experience like this at one point or another. I remember there was a time in high school where I had stayed up the entire night before, so after school, I was extremely exhausted. I laid down and I woke up, and at that point in time, I had to go out to get on the bus at like 6:40, 6:45 a.m. I wake up and it's like 6:35 and I'm like, oh crap, and I'm like rolling out of bed, just throwing on whatever, until I walked out of my room and saw the rest of my family in the living room doing whatever. Oh, the sun's actually just barely out still. It's 6:35 p.m. Really takes a minute for the heart rate to go back down after an experience like that. We try so hard, commented. I did this in high school frequently. Stayed up too late, took a 2 to 3 hour nap after school, woke up, put my uniform on, sat down at breakfast, and it was dinner. Always confusing and slightly embarrassing. Our next story is, today I messed up by forgetting I had a Pi-Hole. Obligatory, this actually happened like 3 years ago. I hit it off with a girl on a dating app. We went on a date and she seemed legitimately interested in me. The vibes were fantastic. She mentioned enjoying anime and manga, same as I do. When I was at home and we were texting, I recommended some random older manga that I really enjoyed and she asked where she could read it. So I googled around and came across an only mildly sketchy site where one could read it for free. I copied the URL and sent it to her. She sent me a curt, "What the freak did you just send me?" text, and I was baffled. It was a brief loop of me saying, "What are you talking about?" Her saying, "This is freaking disgusting." Me replying, "I mean, I guess it's a little on the darker side, but it's a horror series, just keep reading." Her replying, "Why the freak would you think this was okay to send to me?" And then she unmatched and blocked me. I opened up the link again and it was fine. I had no idea what had happened. When I was having lunch with a friend and was venting to him about this, I pulled up the text conversation and clicked the link. I immediately realized what had happened. At the time, I had a Pi-Hole set up, a Raspberry Pi that acted as a network-level ad blocker. When I had originally opened the link while connected to my home network, it just showed all the pages for Chapter 1 and not a single ad. What I didn't realize was that the Pi-Hole was holding back an incredible quantity of anime adult entertainment advertisements and videos. When later accessing the site on cellular data, I would be greeted with Bulma from Dragon Ball getting viciously, viscerally, viscously actioned by Bart Simpson. Closing that ad would show a clip depicting a actually 1,000-year-old dragon in a very not 1,000-year-old girl's body doing things. And some of the ads were even worse, depicting animated things of an even more questionable legal nature. It was sort of impossible to access the underlying site without closing 30 ads first. It made perfect sense that she would unmatch someone that would send that to her after one date and act like it was fine. The really unfortunate thing here is if she had taken 1 second to describe a little bit further what she saw on that website, maybe OP could have salvaged it, and that would be very fortunate because it really sounded like they got along together well. Who knew that it would come down to Bart Simpson and Bulma from Dragon Ball to ruin everything? No wonder they went and blocked OP after OP said, "Don't have a cow, man." Finchy Poo commented, "She should have been using an ad blocker. Remember, friends, always use protection from the scum of the internet." Our next story is, today I messed up. I, Chinese female, offered my guy friend Asian candy while lying down in front of him. I was in a meeting where they had lychee jellies, Asian supermarket candy aisle staple. I love them, and my friend group currently isn't very Asian, so when I was told I could pocket some extras, I was pretty excited to be able to share a bit of my childhood with all of my friends after the meeting. I had to run to rejoin them where they were hanging out, and all the seats are taken, so I ended up lying down on the floor and taking off my jacket, with the jellies in them, to catch my breath. As soon as I vaguely recover myself, one of my friends walks in and joins us. All he sees is that when I notice him, I immediately roll over and prop myself up with one elbow and, in that pose on the floor, slightly out of breath and still flushed, raise my eyebrows in excitement and say, "Hey, do you want some Asian candy?" And then continue to grin excitedly without producing any sort of actual candy. There was a complete pause for a moment, then a lot of laughter at my expense once they realized I wasn't propositioning him in front of everyone. He did not, in fact, want my Asian candy. Now, could you imagine if the friend actually was interested in being propositioned here? "Well, yeah, I want some, but not here in front of everyone." Either would be a fantastic moment for OP or a disaster. Raven1121 commented, his Reddit post 5 years later, "Was my friend coming on to me?" OP replied saying, "I've actually been coming on to him for like 2 weeks. That was the one time it was accidental, and honestly, I think the only time it actually registered to him." A large rubber duck replied, "So I'm hearing that when you're alone, this will be an incredibly effective pickup line now." Our next story is, today I messed up using my wife's friend's phone and seeing their group chat name. Happened last night, was at a get-together with my wife, her friends, celebrating the host's birthday. His wife and my wife have been friends for years and teach together. She has an Alexa on screen and realized it was giving them updates on orders, including contents. Not wanting to ruin Christmas surprises for her kids, she asked if I knew how to fix it. Told her I did, had the same concern with our kids, and took her phone to turn off the shipping notifications. While I had her iPhone, a message notification pops up with the header, "OP's wife's name swallows." Like Jane Smith swallows. Wife's friend is next to me, so I don't open the thread and start snooping, but internally I'm obviously very concerned. I decide either 1. My wife's friends actually hate her mean girl style. Or 2, my wife's in the group and done something to gain said title. I managed not to say anything and just focus on having a couple of beers and watching the NFL game. I'm thinking, well, yeah, she does occasionally, but our hooking up life isn't that noteworthy. Is she cheating, etc.? We get home and she starts bathing my daughter. I ask her for her phone. She gives it to me no problem. And I open the messaging app. I immediately see a group chat called Swallows. I ask her why it's called that. Apparently, there was an inside joke where one of them thought they saw bats in the backyard, and another told them they were clearly swallows. I didn't realize that when you text a group chat, the notification is sender name, group name. She had been texting her friend from the kitchen, so it popped up displaying wife's name Swallows. Naturally, she died laughing and shared my mistake with everyone else. Update, oh my god, she really was cheating. Just kidding. I know it's funny, but quick disclaimer, most of the relationship stories on Reddit are fake and the real ones are posted because of heartbreak, so don't get tricked into thinking every guy gets cheated on. Go out there and pursue a relationship without being possessive and paranoid. We've been married for 11 years, have 2 kids and share everything, password and locations. We've had our ups and downs, but love each other and would never step out. This was just a humorous story of seeing something glaringly sexual on its surface about my wife that ended up completely innocent. I even asked if they did it as a joke so it would say so-and-so swallows whenever one of them sent a message, and it never clicked with them. I asked her how she would feel if she borrowed one of my employees' phones and OP eats butt popped up, and she was howling laughing, but understands why I was concerned for a moment. To be fair, with OP, if I saw that, my mind would be racing too. I'd be like, what the heck is that? Kind of similar to OP, I would certainly be hoping that it wasn't because of an earned reputation that name and message just popped up. Thing is though, they had great communication and openness. I feel like a lot of more closed off relationships might actually get affected in some way from that. Glittery Cake Human commented, group chats and nicknames are constantly changing for me. I've had one called Twerking Grandmas that changed to Depressed Geese into Butt Immolated, and people have had nicknames such as Old Pelvic Area, Bread, Titty Teaser, Clown Badger, and Train Licker. And all this in a perfectly normal friend chat between 30-something women. Our next story is, today I messed up by eating a homemade family-sized lasagna for every meal over 2 days. I've made a terrible mistake and learned a valuable lesson. Allow me to walk you through the last 3 days of heck. My housemate went on holiday Tuesday morning, leaving me alone for the week. I don't often get time alone, so I planned my time around working a little each day and then playing games for the rest of the day. About 12 p.m. in several joints, I was getting hungry and had an amazing idea. I was gonna make a massive homemade lasagna and eat it over the course of the week. At this point, I had no idea what it would do to my body, and if future me could talk to the me from Tuesday, I would have warned him. Day 1, Tuesday morning. So I get all the stuff and spend an hour or so making a massive 7-layer lasagna with nearly a whole block of cheese, several tins of tomatoes, and a layer of applesauce in the middle to give it a sweet tang. It was enough to feed 10 people easily. It smelled so good. Tuesday, lunchtime, portion 1. I fried some chips/fries and garlic bread and sat down to eat it. It was amazing. I was so thrilled it turned out great. Tuesday's evening, portion 2, still just as delicious, even better maybe after letting it sit for a few hours. Nothing brewing in my body yet. It was the calm before the storm. Tuesday midnight, portion 3. I believe this was my first mistake. I'd been smoking a few joints and watching AVGN on YouTube, and all of a sudden I remember that I made a massive lasagna. I tried to resist, but my stoner brain only lasted about 5 minutes before I had more and cooked some midnight garlic bread to go with it. It still tasted good. After eating, I noticed I was starting to get acid reflux. I took a lansoprazole and tried to sleep. Wednesday morning, portion 4. I woke up and my stomach was grumbling, so I went and plated up another helping of lasagna. It tasted okay, not as delicious as my previous 3 helpings, but I put that down to it being early and I'd just woken up. It's at this point my stomach acid kicked up again and I needed a poo really badly. I ran to the toilet and had the runniest one I'd had in a long time. It was almost painful. Now, at this point, you would normally go, maybe I should lay off the lasagna for a bit. But it never occurred to me at the time that 4 meals of lasagna could produce such bad bowels. I felt better after, so I quickly forgot about it. Wednesday lunchtime, portion 5. I know it might seem crazy, but at about 2 p.m., I was hungry. I had work to get on with, but didn't have the time to cook anything and nothing to grab quickly except lasagna. So back I went. At this point, half the lasagna is gone and half remains. This time, the lasagna didn't taste that great, but I ate it because I needed to have something to give me some energy. I realized at this point that my stomach felt weird, like painful and uncomfortable. I made myself some coffee and expected a poo, but nothing came. Just a horrible feeling something wasn't right. Wednesday evening, portion 6, the final portion. After finishing work, I looked at the remaining lasagna. I thought, maybe it's because I've had no salad or vegetables with it. That'll make it taste better and give me something to sort my stomach out. So I made some salad, more garlic bread, and the final portion. I knew immediately after eating it I had made a terrible mistake. My bowels started aching and making noises. I ran to the toilet, and as my butt hit the seat, a volcano of red-hot you-know-what erupted. It was so painful, my butt was on fire. Some of it was so violent that it somehow shot upwards, pebble dashing to the toilet lid behind me. I don't even know how that's possible. Maybe some of it collided with other bits of it in motion and exploded? Either way, it was the worst toilet experience of my life. Then came the smell. It was delayed almost, like I was in so much pain the universe said, let's give him a minute before we hit him with the smell. It was like acid. This putrid gas almost instantly made me sick. I wanted to run out of the toilet and seek fresh air, but it was still exploding. I had no choice but to hold my nose and breathe through my mouth, which was horrible. All I thought was, I'm getting this acidic crab smell in my mouth. After what seemed like 5 minutes of lava bursting out of me, it stopped, but at what cost? My rear was still on fire. It's like someone was holding a lighter to it. The smell was so bad I had to wipe quickly and escape the heck I'd created. But it hurt so much, every wipe was like dragging sandpaper over it. I winced with every wipe and was almost in tears, and it was so messy it took a lot of wiping. I stumbled out of the toilet like a cowboy who's been on his horse for days. I couldn't sit down. All I could do was lie on my side in bed and try to get to sleep. Thursday evening, as I type this, I'm lying in bed on my side. I can feel the last of the lasagna on its way, and I'm dreading going through this, even if it's one last time. It's freezing cold, but I need the window open to let the smell of my approaching you-know-what out. There's a lesson to be learned here. Don't under any circumstances eat nothing but lasagna and garlic bread for every meal for 2 days. Nothing good can come from it. Edit. Clearly my freak up was leaving it out for 2 days. I appreciate all the concern. As for the applesauce, it wasn't a thick layer, I just spread some out on a layer of pasta. When it cooks, the moisture in it evaporates and you just are left with sugar, really. I like sweet and savory. At least it united a portion of Reddit and food safety rules and a universal disgust for applesauce in lasagna. Thanks for the helpful advice and making me laugh a lot. Edit 2, thank you again. I appreciate the downvotes as well. Good to let others know it's never a good idea to leave a family-sized lasagna out on the side for 2 days. 2 days! OP left that lasagna sitting on their counter for 2 days and somehow wonders, why am I exploding out of every direction? Probably because OP gave a free ride to billions of microbes through their intestinal tract. And don't get me wrong, I'm not always like the perfect practicer of food safety. A lot of times, I'll end up leaving something in Tupperware overnight and still eat it. But generally, it's never come back to bite me, and I've never pushed it like 2 days sitting on the counter. HMS11 commented, OP, I've read your answers to a couple comments. Your issue has nothing to do with eating lasagna for 2 straight days and everything to do with leaving it out on your counter at room temperature for those 2 days. There are vanishingly few prepared foods you can leave at room temperature for that long. Lasagna is absolutely not one of them. The true today I messed up is not having a basic understanding of food safety. Our next story is, today I messed up by accidentally stealing from Sam's. Earlier this week, I went to a Sam's Club to get a few things, and my brother asked me to get him some bananas while I was there. I go to the fruit section, and I see a box of bananas that says 3 pounds on it, and see that the price tag says the bananas are sold in 3-pound quantities. It was a very large box. I thought it seemed like a lot to only be 3 pounds. I texted my brother asking if he was sure he needed 3 pounds of bananas. He said that he was. So I canned the box and loaded up in my cart. I thought it seemed pretty heavy for 3 pounds, but figured there was probably some extra packing stuff in it. I get to my brother to deliver the bananas, and he starts taking some out. As he did so, I noticed a bundle of bananas was weighted at 3 pounds. That's when I realized I had accidentally committed a crime. At Sam's Club, they check your receipt when you leave, so how did they not catch this? I got at least 20 pounds of bananas for $1.56. OP should simply just take their 20 pounds of bananas, make a whole bunch of banana bread, and never look back. I mean, when life gives you 20 pounds of bananas, do something with it, and probably quick before they all go overripe. NTU commented, the price was on the pallet, so I just assumed it was 3 pounds. Fork lifts out a crate of bananas. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy story of how a Redditor severely messed up, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.